Hello guys, welcome to today's video where we are going to discuss about critical path and how we can use this to our advantage, and then what happens if we don't consider this, and then what are the ways in which we can explore and exploit this option that we have. So in most videos they do tell how to form critical path, but they don't really tell you how we use this in real life. So in this video we're going to look into take a simple example. So I have put forward a very simple example where we have a normal, very simplistic flow of activities for development of a software function or feature. So let's say we have requirement analysis happening here, and then coding, and parallelly somebody is writing integration test places. So you see, I have plotted the engineer and the activity, and each of these blocks represented the engineer who's going to do this, and the activity is being done. So and next steps, somebody is doing indeed the unit testing, and then along with that resource test engineer 2 and test engineer 3 are making up the initial integration test cases and then integration test setup, and based off which we are performing integration and then finally completing with the integration testing. So now we can see that there are various engineers involved in this project, and then you have different activities. Now let's come to a practical scenario, and you're in one of the meetings, and then there is a place where you come across that one of the colleagues is not available due to either he or she are sick and they are not available in the project for a few days. So for example, in this case you come across that test engineer 2 is supposed to perform writing test cases, integration test cases. He is not available for 1 week. Now you have plotted down the critical path. We saw in the previous videos how we formed the critical path with the same example. Now the critical path is A, B, D, G, H. Now we know this engineer is not available, engineer E. So now you go ahead and see how your project is affected. So the immediate thought, once in the meeting you come across the fact that one of the team members is not available, the first thing you should think is revert back and then go to this analysis, this network, and then see what happens to the project if this engineer E or this activity is jeopardized. When the engineer is not available, now you see for 1 week you're still fine because you have total float of 1 week here. So even if this guy is delaying his activity by 1 week, still you can afford to finish this project on time. But on the contrary, if you have another example where, let's say in the same meeting where you have another colleague who is informing you, or you came to know from another colleague that one of the colleagues is not available due to an accident or sickness or something like that. Let's say for example employee software engineer 3. Now you immediately go back to your network diagram and then see okay, G is being jeopardized, but in this case the slack you have is 0. You have no freedom. Even if you delay it by 1 day, you are going to put the whole project deadline at risk, the activity of complete development of this. What you're going to do about this? So now we have two options. So you see in the path you have G. In previous case, in the critical path, E was there and it was never in the critical path. Even if it was a delay, you could still manage. Now you see who is missing. So for example, software engineer 3 is missing, who is supposed to perform this activity G. Now you come to the conclusion that he's not available. Now you start identifying the equivalent or analogous resource in the project team, first inside your project team and then externally out of your project team. So and then see what exactly is the activity the other engineer is doing during this time frame. So for example, during this time frame there is no much of other activities happening, which means you can also understand from this flow here, which means you try to understand who are the other software engineers available in the team who can help you with performing this activity. So you go to engineer 1, speak to him, give him a briefing, understanding an idea, come to an agreement, and then assure that he continues his activity until the actual resource, which was software engineer 3, who is available back to continue this activity G, so that you don't put the project at risk. So once software engineer 1 completes this activity on behalf of engineer 3, once this is done, and you planned it, there is no need to communicate to the customer or client that's saying there is a delay in the project development and there is something at risk and so on and so forth. So you save your time. But if you're not able to identify any engineer during this time frame, and then you're totally blank about it and there is no resources coming from external to the project, then you can go ahead and communicate to your stakeholder and client and see how important for him or her is this project to be completed on time, and then what is the freedom that you have. So alternately, we can think about, in the upcoming videos we're going to discuss about resource leveling and resource smoothing, and you can apply those concepts here. So in short, this is how, in a practical scenario, how you apply the analysis of forming this critical path and then forming this whole network diagram. This is how you can use it to your benefit and advantage, and analyze how this is done in a practical example. Thank you guys. Hope I had some value to your time, and then you understood why and how we use it. And I hope you see you in the next videos. Thank you. Have a nice day.